טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Page 128. Near the top of the page. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. 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 Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. On page 120, you will find our blessing for lighting our candles for this Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadikner shel Shabbat. As we turn to page 130, we'll begin to make our way through the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat as we say goodbye to a busy week and hello to the peace of Shabbat. Lechu neranina, neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. Naria, Naria, Betzur Yishenu, Bekadma Fana, Betoda. Naria, Naria, Betzur Yishenu, Bizirot Nerialo. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, Adonai. Lechu neranina, lechu neranina, lechu neranina, l'Adonai. On page 131, at the bottom of the page, let all of the earth be joyful and happy and give thanks for creation. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, B'tagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, B'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Umelo. Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Umelo. Yismechu hashamayim, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. If you'll read together with me at the top of page 133. Adonai is sovereign. Let the earth exult, the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds are around God. Righteousness and justice are the base of God's throne. O you who love Adonai, hate evil. God guards the lives of God's loyal ones, saving them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you righteous, rejoice in Adonai and acclaim God's holy name. We acclaim God's name as we bow down at God's holy mountain, page 135. The last three lines of the Hebrew. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu le'har kodsho. We'll read together from Psalm 29. It's on page 136 and 137. We'll read together in English. A Psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calve and strips forests bare. While in God's temple all say glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. The last two lines of the Hebrew on 137. Those last two lines in the English. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Lai 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 Adonai oz le'amo yitei Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom Adonai oz le'amo yitei Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom Lai 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 As we turn to page 138 and 139, we'll welcome in the Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi, come my friends, let us greet the bride of Shabbat. We'll sing verses 1 and 2 and 5 and 9. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'diבור echad Ishmi'ani el hamiuchad Adonai echad U'shemo echad V'shem u'tiferet v'tefila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat v'chuven elcha Kihi mekor habracha Erosh mikegen nesucha Sof ma'aseh v'machshavat tila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hit'oreri ki va'orech umi ori shir daberi kivod Adonai alayich nivla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We all rise and face the door and welcome the Shabbat bride. Bohi Shalom ateret bala Ram b'simcha v'sola Tochemunei am segula Bohi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. And we'll turn to our neighbors and greet everybody with Shabbat Shalom. For those of you at home, Shabbat Shalom to all of you as well. Page 140. A psalm for Shabbat. Mizmor shir b'yom HaShabbat Tov lehodot la'Adonai ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. הגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וחידון. לזמור שיר יום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארני. מה גדול מעשיך אדוני, ועוד עמקו מחשבותיך. לזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. לזמור שיר יום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. We'll continue as we make our way into our evening service, page 144, with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkada v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, Yamad yivrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala, ba'agala, uv'izman ka'ariv yimeru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, ve'olam olam me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yinaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha, v'richu le'ilam mikol berchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, damiron be'alma, v'yimeru, Amen. We rise for Baruch Hu, page 146. Lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 lai. La 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 Barechu et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Amevorach, Amevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Amevorach, Amevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You can be seated. We'll give thanks for creation as we read together at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sails of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. We continue on page 150. We give thanks for all the rules, the laws, the suggestions, the stories, all those things in the Torah that hold us together as the Jewish people. Ahavat olam et Yisrael amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot kimu mishpatim otanu limadta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shocheinu u'v'tuneinu Nastiach b'fkecha Smach b'vrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Kihei Hayenu Be'orech Yameinu U'vahem Negei Yomam Ve'layla Va'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch Adonai Ohev Amo Israel. As we turn to page 152 and 153, and then with the Haftarah on page 154, we come to a section of prayer that comes directly to us from the Torah. Anybody know what week we read this prayer, Shema and V'ahavta? Anybody know what week we read it out of the Torah? Out of the Torah, not in the prayer book, out of the Torah. If it wasn't this week, I wouldn't ask you, right? Because it wouldn't make any sense. But it's this week's Torah portion, which contains Shema, V'ahavta, and also the Ten Commandments. So when we get to learn a little bit later in our service, we will not talk about the Shema, the V'ahavta, or the Ten Commandments. We're talking about something else in this week's portion. We'll reference these things, but we'll get there. But we'll join together. Shema on page 152, 153, continuing with V'ahavta 154. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Elam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Elam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinan ta'am levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochvecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'einecha uv'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'yisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We'll continue reading together in English, page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. Do not mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai your God. We read together the top of 157 as we come to the Geula, as we give thanks for our redemption in ancient times from Egypt, and in modern times for those places where we might be that seem to enslave us physically, emotionally, mentally. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And as our ancestors did in ancient times, we sing this melody that comes to us from Torah, from the book of Exodus, giving thanks, saying, who could be like you, God, who delivered us from those places of slavery, those places that hold us back from the things that we want to do. Kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot Osei pelech Osei pelech Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot Oh, say Pelech, oh, say Pelech, Malchutecha, Rauvanecha, Boki Hayam, Lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Ze'erim, Anu ve'omru, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed, Mi kamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generation to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, their soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Page 160. 3 lines from the top of the prayer. As we make our way toward evening, we ask God to watch over us through the night. We say, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Spread a shelter of your peace over us. Ufos aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufos aleinu Ufos aleinu Baruch atah Adonai, praised are you, God. Haporei Sukkot Shalom, the one who spreads a shelter of peace. Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, over us, and over all your people Israel. V'al Yerushalayim, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. People of Israel will keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all of our time. This Shabbat will be a sign between us and God. For as God said, we will use Shabbat to remember that 6 days God made the heavens and the earth. And on the seventh day, God ceased from everything and refreshed the soul of the universe. Vishameru, the top of page 162. Vishameru, b'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, dorotam, berit olam, liyuvei b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Kishet yamin asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz uviyom hashvi'i Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash, Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash, Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash, Shabbat, Shabbat, vayinafash. Page 164, we rise for the Amidah. We'll sing the Zimun, our meditation, and the first 3 paragraphs together. And we'll take time for our own silent prayer. When you finish your silent prayer, feel free to be seated and we'll join back together. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, Ufi yagid tehilatecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel chasadim tovim, v'konei hakol, v'zocher chaste avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shmo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, magin Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, v'chayei hakol atah, Rav le'hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Mishene afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, melech mimid, umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atalachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh, Shemcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yehallelu chasel ha. Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Page 180. Oh, say Shalom Imramav. Say Shalom Aleinu. Al Kol Yisrael. Shalom Bimromav, Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. If you will kindly turn to page 371, we'll take a moment to think of those who are in need of healing and ask for God to bring refuah shlema, complete healing. Bimheira v'yameinu, may it come quickly, for Brian Zabel, Gnendel bat Sima, Avraham ben Meir, Tova bat Rasha, Fran Hart, Aharon ben Avraham Basara, Larry Ritterband, Sarah Tischler, Kayla Vreek, Lila Vreek, Stanley Sachs, Karen Thursby, Alan and Ancil Tirlupis, Kelly Fuentes, Paltiela bat Basha, Devorah Esther bat Moshe, Ellen Weiss, Tommy Elledge, Batsheva bat Sprinza, Suri Shaddai ben Sarah, Bela bat Sura Herschel, Sarah Mandel, Lynn Kaplan, Don Kraft, Ruth Sugar Barish, Rav Yaakov Reuven ben Dvorah Ayelet. Do you have any other names for healing? Thank you. Thank you. Any others on this side of the room? Names for healing? On this side of the room, any names for healing? Thank you. Thank you. Any others? For all those that we have named, for all those in need of healing, in the middle of 371, we join together. Yishe'era avoteinu mikor Abraham leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yishe'era Mikor Abraham le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. This week we read Parashat Va'etchanan, the book of Deuteronomy. It's our second parsha in this book of the Torah. And it's famous because it has the Shema and it has the 10 Commandments. For a long time, in the time of the ancient temple, the beginning of the early Jewish prayer service was, well, the center of it anyway, was the Shema and the 10 Commandments. The people would stand in the courtyard, they would recite the Shema. It says in the book of Nehemiah, or in English Nehemiah, I think it's in chapter 9, and it says that they would stand in the courtyard and they would put their hands out like this. And they would say the Shema and the paragraph of V'ahavta and the 10 Commandments. And then they would bow down with their faces all the way down to the ground and bless the reading of a portion of the Torah. And it created a problem. And the rabbis got rid of the 10 Commandments. I don't mean from the Torah, I mean from the service. Because they found that the people thought that as long as they followed those 10, and they must be the most important because we say them every day, we don't need the other 603. And the rabbis thought that was a bad message, so they said, we'll just say the Shema part. We'll read the 10 Commandments those few times a year that we get to it in the Torah. But there's a pretty important part, I think, of this week's portion that gets overshadowed by the Shema and the 10 Commandments. Because it's not as famous as those two things, because, well, nobody named the movie after that other scene that I'll tell you about in a second, like they named the 10 Commandments, and nobody recites that other part of the Torah every day, twice a day, 3 times a day if you say it at your bedtime, like the Shema. And it's the part where Moses says, hey God, I led the people through the desert for 40 years. That whole plague thing in Egypt, I did that. Reading them the Torah, I did that. All the stuff you asked me to do, I did that. Israel's right over there on the side of the river I'd like to go, and God says, no. And Moses says, well, if Moses was a young American child, Moses would stomp his feet and run to his room and scream at his mom and dad. Or he'd throw something at his teacher, or he'd file a complaint against his boss, or something. But Moses says nothing. He goes and teaches the people more things that they need to know. Something doesn't feel right about this story. I mean, Moses is the hero of the story, right? And I've watched enough Hollywood movies in my life to know that there's always a happy ending. And if there's not a happy ending, there's a fake sad ending. And then there's a happy ending. But not for Moses. Or is it? Because I'll tell you that I think for Moses, it's a very happy ending. I mean, it doesn't seem like a happy ending. You don't get to go into the promised land and you're going to go climb up that mountain and die by yourself and no one's going to know where you're buried. That doesn't sound like a happy ending. But in the Talmud, in a section called Pirkei Avot, it gives us advice on a lot of things, and there's a saying in there that says, Ezehu Sameach, Ezehu Ashir, HaSameach B'chalko. Who is a person who is wealthy? And when we hear wealthy, we think about our bank account, our stock portfolio, the Forbes 500. I don't know what we think about when we're wealthy, but it's one of those things, right? But it says, who is healthy? Or who is wealthy? Who is healthy? Not me, that's for sure. But who is wealthy? Hasameach b'chelko. The person who is happy with their portion. What makes us rich? It's really not dollars. Right? That bumper sticker that I've seen on people's cars. Whoever dies with the most toys wins. It should say whoever dies with the most toys wasted the most money. That's what it should say. Who is rich? Hasameach b'chelko, the person who's happy with their portion. And Moses was happy with his portion. He got to work on a task that was important. He wasn't going to complete the task. It says in another place in the Talmud, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor v'lo ata ben chorim lihibatel mimena. It means that you are not required to complete every task. But you're also not given permission to walk away from working on the task. You got to do something. And Moses did. He didn't deliver the people into the promised land, but he made it most of the way. And he led them to the place where they needed a new type of leadership. Because had Moses gone into the land, perhaps Moses would have become not the governor, not the president, maybe not even the high priest, because that was Aaron. Perhaps Moses would have become king, or worse, idol. But Moses was happy at the end of his life. It doesn't say that in the Torah, but we can figure it out. Because he was rich. He was happy with his lot. He was happy with what he got to do to make the world that much more of a better place. Often, I hear people talk about how they failed in what they wanted to achieve. How I was supposed to be famous. I was supposed to be rich. I was supposed to have this. I was supposed to do that. And as I think about what they're saying, I wonder if they would sit and think about, are they happy with their portion? Did they do something good? Did they make someone's world a better place? Did they make someone have a better day because they were having a bad day? Did they fix one problem? Or if they didn't fix it, did they try to fix a problem? Did they lead some people to do something? Or did they lead themselves to try to do it? Because we shouldn't measure our riches in how much money we have in the bank, who owns the tallest building, who has the biggest airplane, who has the most toys. I got a call 2 days ago from a guy. His name's Edward. You don't know him, but I do. Edward was one of my students. I taught him Hebrew. I did his bar mitzvah. And at the end of the year, I'm going to fly to Miami to do his wedding. And his dad said to me, he said, you know, the best possession I have in my house is a picture of me, my wife, and my son Edward on the Israel trip that we went on with you. He said, for all the years I thought it were all those toys that I brought for Edward. They have a shed in their backyard. It's like 6 feet tall, it's like 6 feet wide, 6 feet deep. And it's got, I'm going to guess, hundreds of thousands of dollars of electronic toys that 2-year-olds like. And 5-year-olds also, and 8-year-olds, and 11-year-olds, and 15-year-olds, and 18-year-olds. And they're all piled up inside that shed. And all the batteries are dead, and the lights don't work, and they don't make noise anymore. And he said, somewhere I'm going to have to throw that all in the trash because I don't know what to do with it. I don't think they recycle all that stuff. But that photo in my living room, the year after Edward's bar mitzvah, when we went on that Israel trip with you, and we took this picture, and he said, over the desert thing that you know the name of, because he didn't remember where we were, and I said, over Nachal Tzin. And he said, hold on a second. We were at their house when we had this conversation. He walked over, pulled the picture off the wall, and wrote Nachal Tzin on the back of the picture, and stuck it back up on the wall. And he said, that picture, which I blew up to a large size at Costco for $110, is worth more than the hundreds of thousands of dollars of toys that I have in that stupid shed. Because that was a time when my family and a bunch of our friends from the temple got to spend a really important time together, and we cherish those memories, and that picture is about those memories. That makes me feel rich. And he said, I know you gave a sermon about that like 10 years ago. I only figured it out now. He said, I had to retire from my job and stop buying stuff for my son and be not far away from his marriage, because this was last year that we had this conversation. It took me all this time to figure out that that was really true. Was Moses sad when he found out that he wasn't going to go into the promised land? Perhaps. But I think what Moses felt the most is that Moses was rich. He was incredibly wealthy because he was happy with his portion. He was happy with what he got to do in his life. He was happy with how he got to affect all the other people around him. And that, I think, perhaps, made him the wealthiest person in the world. Even though he walked up a mountain with a robe and a cane to go die on an unmarked place. Not a lot of gold and not a lot of dollars up there. But I think in that moment, he knew that he was the wealthiest man alive. We're going to bring our service to a close as we turn to 586, the bottom of the page, and we'll rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, l'ateit gedula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asano k'voyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu kovim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, b'fnei melech Malchei Hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Next page. She'emunotei shamayim yoser haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al u'shchinatu zo v'govei meromim hu Eloheinu einod emet malkeinu efes ulato kakatu b'torato yadata hayom b'hashivota elevavecha Yadonai hua Elohim b'shamayim mima'al ve'al ha'aretz mitachat einod. K'malchut shelcha yolemet yimloch b'chavod kakatu b'toratecha na'yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'ya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom ha'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad u'shemo echad. We can be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Art Egelman, Goldine Elston, Saul Mayer, Celia Moglin, Leo Rubinow, Rose Litwin, Gertrude Friedman, Leon Strick, Ben Heller, Janina Dobaz, Rose Hayutin, Nafia Koklija, Jenny Chase, Leon Kronheim, Rose Lux, Victor Brown, Stanley Feldman, Nathan Mussman, Madeline Zefrani, Philip Milgram, and Harry Cohen. Do you have any other yard sites that anyone is observing? Ask mourners to rise, and those whose custom it is to stand with them, as we turn to page 598. Yehi zichronam levcha. May their memories be a blessing. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Divrah Chirutei, Yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon Uvyomechon, Uv'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala Uv'zman Kariv Yimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Leolam Olmei Almaya, Yitparach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yittomam, Yitnazeh, Yitadar, Yit'aleh, Yithalal, Shmei D'Kudisha, B'rechu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechamata, T'amiran Be'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru Amen. Say Shalom B'mramav, Huya say Shalom. Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru Amen. We can be seated. Anybody have our announcements? Anyone? they're on the door over there maybe, I don't know. But they might be on the office door. We'll take 10 seconds to find out. 9 more seconds. 8 more seconds. 12 more seconds. 15 more seconds. I don't know, I can't count anymore. Is there anything there? Maggie's got some announcements. They were there on the door. They're all very, very important, I'm sure. You can skip that one that you and I always skip. You know which one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for Erev Shabbat for our service. If you're new or visiting, hi. Be sure to introduce yourself. Let us welcome you in a friendly and equitable manner. Thank you, Rabbi Jay Sherwood, for leading an amazing service tonight. We appreciate you. You're getting applause now.
Yeah.
Did you slip him a 20?
Me and Taylor, we get applause. It happens. Her outfits are way better than mine, though, but you do.
She has more costuming budget.
Yeah, much bigger costume budget.
There you go. So on Saturday, August 26th at 7 p.m., it is a farewell Havdalah for Elena Rathman. Please sign up on the temple website, and if you feel the urge to do so, please donate. We are open for sponsorship for that. Dates in August. August 5th, Robert Footlick is starting a new class, Learning to be a Gabbai, free class. The only prerequisite is you must be able to read Hebrew. The class goes for 6 Saturdays from 1 to 2. Please register at the temple portal as soon as you can. The Erev Shabbat service on August 18th is going to be at Garden of the Gods, so that is a change from the previous date. So if you have that on your calendar, please make that correction so you don't end up at Garden of the Gods without us, because we would miss you. Let's see, back to school fun, August 27th. We'll see how that goes. What? Sign up for the Cemetery Fall Cleanup Day on Sunday, September 10th at 10 a.m. Bring water, because we all know how the weather's been, gloves, and ridiculous levels of positivity, because it's a cleanup day and it's out in the hot sun, so, there's that. High Holy Days are around the corner, so we will be doing Erev and Lulav ordering very, very soon, so keep the lookout for that. If you are a member and you have received your membership renewal forms, please send those back in. We appreciate you on multiple levels. Let's see. If you have any questions, if you need updates on anything other than those announcements, please feel free to contact the temple office at your convenience. And thank you so much. Denny. Did everybody hear that? If you're donating for Elena's Havdalah, please list that when you do your donation online so that they can put that specifically into that fund. In the comment section, yeah. Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right, well, thank you so much. And thank you, Rabbi Jay.
If you turn, thank you, Maggie, 645, I mentioned this quote from Pirkei Avot. It's in the middle of page 645. It says, "It's not your duty to complete the work, neither are you free to desist from it." I translated it a little differently. I said, you don't have to complete all the stuff, but you got to help out a little bit, which is basically what it says. So someone wrote some music for those words. So since we talked about it tonight, well, at least I talked about it, I thought we'd maybe sing those words. So right in the middle of 645, repeat these words after me. Lo. That was terrible. Lo. It's a little better. I'm the one with the sore throat. You should be louder than I am. Lo. Alecha. Hamlacha. Ligmor. Velo. Ata ben chorin lehi batel mimena. That's all the words that you need to know. It's from Pirkei Avot. It's like this. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor. That's the first half of the song. Give it a try with me. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor. Do it again. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor. The second half of the song goes like this. Velo ata. Try that. Velo ata. Here's the hard part. Ready? Ben chorin lehi batel mimena. Try that. Ben chorin lehi batel mimena. Velo ata. Ben chorin. Try that. Velo ata ben chorin, velo ata ben chorin, lehi batel mimena, velo ata ben chorin. Now that you're all experts, we're going to try it at the real speed. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, lo alecha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin lehi batel mimena, velo ata ben chorin, velo ata ben chorin lehi batel mimena, velo ata ben chorin. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll make a little Kiddush Motzi in the back. And for those of you online with us, Shabbat Shalom and Laila Tov.